Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our What's Buzzin' at Georgia Tech webinar series. My name is Tyler Barker. I serve as the coordinator within the Office of Parent and Family Programs. Would just like to thank you for joining us here today. We're bringing you webinars each and every week from different offices on the Georgia Tech campus. Just talking about what they're doing to support our students and what cool programs and resources they have as well. Today we are joined by Jason Wright, who works in the Georgia Tech Library, and I'll just let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Jason Wright. I'm the communications manager for the Georgia Tech Library. That means that I run all the kind of public outreach for the Georgia Tech Library, including our social media, websites, signage on campus, things like that to make sure that people know about our programs. And I'm really excited to be here today, so thank you. Can I give it back to Tyler?
Thank you so much, Jason. So parents and families, what we're going to do today, we're going to show you a video presentation of the library and kind of just an overview of what we've done in terms of renovations and just some other cool things that are going on. And then we'll switch it back to Jason for a Q&A. So parents and families, if you have any questions for Jason about our Georgia Tech Library and how can I get my students studying hard and stuff like that, we'll switch it over to Jason. Parents, if you have a question, just drop it in the Q&A chat box. Just use the Q&A chat box feature. And so if you'll give me 1 second, I'll get our video started.
Welcome to the new Georgia Tech Library. I'll be your host on our tour today. My name is Catherine Manci, and I'm the Public Programming and Community Engagement Librarian. I'm standing outside of the Price Gilbert Memorial Library off of Cherry Street, and this is where we'll begin our tour today. Follow me. Welcome. We're here on the first floor of Price Gilbert. Behind me is the first floor reading room, one of our study areas. To my right is the library's new gallery space. Let's take a look. Originally built in 1952, the Price Gilbert Memorial Library served Tech's campus for nearly 70 years before its renovation began in 2018. We're proud to reintroduce this historic mid-century modern building back to the Georgia Tech community in a form that reflects its original beauty. It is in spaces like this reading room that you can clearly see our design ethos of long life, loose fit, meaning the building will grow and change with the needs of Tech students and faculty. Notice the ample power outlets and space to spread out with multiple devices, materials, and study aids. Here, we see a small sample of the types of work to be featured in our gallery. We expect this space to hold student, faculty, and traveling exhibits throughout the year, highlighting the ingenuity and passion of Tech scholars. We're on the first floor of Price Gilbert Reading Room right now, but we have a mix of reading and study spaces throughout both buildings, and as you go up each floor, the spaces get quieter. At the top of Crosland Tower, which we will also tour, we have silent study floors open 24 hours a day. Here's a look at some of our individual study spaces on the second and third floors of Price Gilbert. We provide a range of furniture and space configuration options for single students, small groups, and classes. Welcome to our Scholars Event Network Theater, located on the first and second floors of Price Gilbert. This is where we plan to hold speakers, conferences, and symposia once social distancing and virtual programming is not a necessity. As we go through the building, please notice that all of our seating has been reconfigured for social distancing. This is to ensure safety. Speaking of which, time for a quick hand sanitizer break. We have stations at all entrances throughout the labs, breakout spaces, reading rooms, and study areas. We are now on the Grove level of Price Gilbert, below the first floor. Behind me is the info desk area, our main service point for anything library related. Here you can pick up materials, get help, meet with experts, and launch your research project with the full force of the Georgia Tech Library by your side. Next, we're going to enter Crosland Tower. Built in 1968, it was originally meant to hold only books. We began renovations in 2015, including moving all physical materials into cold storage at the Library Service Center, jointly operated by Georgia Tech and Emory. We reopened in 2018. Welcome to the Grove level stairs. These help tie the buildings to the adjoining Clough Undergraduate Learning Commons. We share several connections between the buildings, and as in Clough, these are a popular place for students to hang out between their classes. Here we see the Crosland Tower Grove level reading room, which connects to the screened-in porch and deck to the right. To the left is Sideways Cafe, which is expected to be open during the fall 2020 semester. Here, students can grab a bite to eat when masks aren't required. Please note the lights on the ceiling. They're an art installation that illuminates the space throughout the day. Next, we'll move up to the first floor of Crosland Tower. This is our archives reading room, which holds our non-circulating rare items. Take a look at some of our amazing historic materials from the Fulton Bag Company collection, the Bud Foot Science Fiction collection, our architecture collection, and text past. We are now on the second floor of Crosland Tower, also known as the Innovation and Ideation Studio. Here, students are encouraged to engage in low technology, iterative design to help them build their projects, inventions, and creations for class or industry. The space is well lit, airy, and welcoming to anyone looking for a great space to spread out and get a little messy. Now we've moved to the third floor of Crosland Tower, which includes the high-performance computing cluster and the data visualization and retroTECH labs. The third and fourth floors of both buildings represent the building's technology spaces. Here, you see one of the bridges connecting Crosland Tower to Price Gilbert. This is the 360 view from the third floor. Now we are back in Price Gilbert on the third floor of the Multimedia Scholarship Commons. These machines include software like the Adobe Suite, so students can create the next generation of multimodal projects and presentations. As we've walked through the buildings, you've no doubt noticed the empty bookshelves. During construction, we moved all the physical materials into cold storage to free up space for the renovations. Originally, the plan was to move about 30,000 volumes known as the core collection of titles representing the foundational scholarship in the field studied at Tech back into the buildings at the completion of construction. However, with COVID-19, that timeline has been pushed back. All materials are available using the library's website, including the Emory collections afforded by our joint partnership. Delivery is contactless and achieved through library lockers. Behind me, you see one of our popular study areas on the fourth floor of Price Gilbert. These spaces include individual study carrels for those students who prefer a visual block from their environment. Also on the fourth floor of Price Gilbert is the new Faculty Research Zone, including a teaching studio. Office space on campus is a premium, and access to new technologies for teaching can be hard to come by. Luckily, we've built this space for faculty to be able to meet, conduct research, and create the learning environment for the future. Let's pop into one of our collaboration rooms. These are available for reservation 24 hours a day online. Each student has equal access to them, and each is equipped with the high and low technology needs of any group studying or creating a project. Capacity of each room is limited because of COVID, and the new occupancy rules are listed with each reservation. Let's move up into the top floors of Crosland Tower. The 5th floor is for our staff and faculty offices, but the 6th and 7th floor reading rooms are for quiet study only. Here, the 6th floor offers a variety of seating options for scholars, plus some pretty great views of campus. Also on the 6th floor, we offer the graduate student community. This buzz card protected space allows graduate students to meet, study, collaborate, and eat thanks to a kitchen. Like the rest of the library, it is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during the semester. Shh. This is our quietest floor, the 7th floor reading room. Take a look at these unbeatable views of campus that await all who choose to study at the top of the library. Lastly, welcome to our rooftop terrace. These are open from sun up to sundown every day for students to get some fresh air and enjoy the skyline view. Thank you very much for joining us on our tour. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Georgia Tech Library, and I can't wait for you to visit us in person.
Wow, that was pretty impressive. Thank you everybody for taking the time out to watch that. So now what we'll do is turn it over to Jason to just see if we have any questions for him in our Q&A. We do have one question. So how do you assure that students maintain social distancing inside the library? Is there somebody kind of reprimanding students and kind of just keeping everything in line, or is it kind of self-policed?
It's more self-policed. What we've done is, we have covered up places where they can sit, but honestly, you will see students come in and sit next to each other. And instead of, constantly having people trying to police that, generally what happens on campus is that they've tried to trust the students to do the right thing. As you can see by the video, almost all of the students do a very good job of maintaining social distance, and they always wear their masks. But if someone does choose to come in, usually what you'll see is like couples will come in, and they'll kind of try and reconfigure the seating. If it becomes especially egregious, we do have security that will come and break up groups and try and get them to sit apart from one another. But barring that, we generally leave it to the students.
Thank you, Jason, for sharing that. I have another question for you. So my student is attending classes virtually this semester. Can you talk about what resources they can access still via the GT library, or, and what does that look like for students? So
actually, every single thing that you can do at the Georgia Tech Library, except sit in the building, you can do online. All of our supplementary classes that we teach are all online. So those are things like data visualization tools like RStudio or D3 or Tableau, multimedia tools like the Adobe Creative Suite. So they can take those classes, and we send those out to everyone on campus every month, and then it's also on our social media as well. In terms of what they can read, one of the interesting things, we've been in a unique position in this pandemic, because the library itself has really shifted to focus on digital. We are a digital first organization. So if you were to look at the business that we do, we average in a normal year about 4 million downloads of articles and ebooks. And our print publications, they just keep falling precipitously every year to less than 20,000. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the book as a piece of technology is an outdated piece of technology for a lot of your STEM fields. It still works fantastically for things like fiction or history, but when you work in STEM fields, you have absolutely massive data sets, especially if you're talking about somebody like an astronomer, or like the example of when they discovered gravity waves. It took multiple universities working together, and the data sets were so huge that if you actually tried to bound those in a book, it would probably be bigger than the buildings themselves. So because of that, and because of that's what we focus on, you can really get anything you want online all the time. And if you need a book for some reason, we can always photocopy the pages that you need. We will work with any student to get them the materials that they need. But generally, for almost every student, really the only people that need the books, which are a little bit older, honestly, not talking about popular reading or things like that, but are going to be like grad students and faculty. Undergrads really are not going to need those bound books because a lot of the equations and stuff that are held in there, they have a digital equivalent that the professor assigns, especially in a time when we don't want to send physical materials around.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that as well, Jason. I have another question for you. So my student is media savvy and kind of adventurous. Is there a way for my student to rent a camera or any other type of media electronics to kind of help them pursue their photography or videography aspirations?
Absolutely. So we're a little bit hampered right now because of COVID. We have it's called gadgets lending, and so we do have everything: DSLR cameras, we have green screen sets, we have lighting kits. But one of the really exciting things about the library that we didn't necessarily cover in this video because it's not open right now, we have an entire multimedia scholarship commons. I'm putting together a video on that right now, and it includes all sorts of, I mean, it's better than most television studios. It's completely brand new equipment. And what we're doing right now in terms of being able to lend the DSLRs or the snowball microphones or the lavalier mics is we have a UV chamber. And so we've been testing that UV chamber to make sure that there's no virus detected on any of the materials, like once someone lends it, once we lend it to someone. And we've also figured out how to do that using the lockers in the library so that it's contactless. So as soon as that comes online, your student will be able to rent those things. We have computers, we have Macs, and in the multimedia scholarship commons, I mean, we have $20,000 Macintosh computers that you can, that they use to edit motion pictures. So if your student is really interested in, especially like computational media and things like that, which is a major here, then this is going to be where they tend to spend a lot of time.
Great, sounds good. Seems like I have another one in the chat box. Can the students borrow books, or are they just available at the library or strictly online? So I guess maybe if you can expound on obtaining physical copies of books for students who
absolutely
live on campus, and then I think we already kind of touched on the online version too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do not have physical materials in the building right now. What happens is you order those materials using the website, and we have an offsite facility called the Library Service Center, which is a cold storage facility. It's actually over, if anybody is familiar with Atlanta, it's over at Emory's Briarcliff campus, the old Candler estate, where they kept the menagerie of like all the elephants named after Coke products. And it's also, if anybody watches Stranger Things, the Hawkins Power Facility if you take the drone shot that they always show of the Hawkins Power Facility, and you go out about 50 feet, you'd see the Library Service Center right behind it. It's where we keep all our physical materials. And the reason we keep them in there is because they're stored at 55 degrees Fahrenheit and 35% humidity, which means that they're arrested from degradation for pretty much 250 to 300 years. So we keep the materials there, keep them in good shape. You order them. They are delivered within 24 hours. Usually, if you deliver before noon, they're or order before noon, they're delivered the same day. And once again, they are sanitized before they come, and then left in a locker for the user to pick up. The user would come and pick up the materials that they have ordered, and then they would return them to that locker, and then we will sanitize those materials with the UV, and then also we have like a blast freezer in the LSC to make sure that, and then they go on quarantine for 3 days as well. But yes, you can order books.
Perfect. I like that Stranger Things plug. That was really
yeah, it's really interesting.
For the parents and families who may have joined the webinar late, can you expound on what the current library policy is as it relates to reserving, I guess, like not necessarily conference rooms, but just study rooms and like group, just conducting group projects? You know, does everybody have to have a mask on in the study room, and what does that look like?
Yes. So when you walk into the building, we have signage everywhere that says that you have to wear a mask to enter the building. If you do not have a mask, we have security and they have masks and they will give them out. So there are multiple kind of levels of breakout rooms in the library, and Clough Undergraduate Learning Commons is connected to the library. So they are one big kind of complex. So when you rent a room, or you don't rent it because you don't pay anything, but when you reserve a room, what happens is you go on. There are some that are instantly reservable, which means that you just walk up and swipe your buzz card and you can get in. There are others that you can reserve for 3 hours at a time. And so what happens is you go online. We have an online booking system called EMS. The student chooses, based on certain criteria, how many people do you want in there, everything like that. We do have the COVID occupancies listed with each room. Unfortunately, our rooms were, 12-person room, 15-person, 8-person, 4 people, and now they range from like 1 to 4 people that can be in the rooms. And you walk up, there's a little touchpad, you swipe your buzz card to be able to get in, it recognizes you, and then you use the room. You are supposed to wear your mask in the room at all times. Like I said, we leave it up to the students, but it's my personal mission that every time I'm in the library, and I know a couple other people, that we walk around and every single person that I see that has their mask off or pulls their, mask down their nose and stuff, we ask them to please put it back on. So the rooms work pretty much as they always have. Everyone has equal opportunity to get to them. And students can use that room for we don't police what they use it for. A lot of people will use it for like group study. But, it can be anything from board game club to, people playing video games together to somebody wants to take a nap and they just want to be able to lock a door. We have that as well. And since we are open 24 hours and we have security, it's a popular thing. We specifically built the library so that students can do things like that.
Great. Let's see. How can students learn to use all of these incredible resources? Do they need to enroll in certain classes, or do you have training sessions or webinars for students?
So we do have, okay, so that's a little bit of a complicated question, but the easiest answer is we have librarians embedded in every freshman level class that you have to take. So like English 1101 or English 1102, or some of the GT 1000 classes. And essentially what happens, and then as they go up in their major, we also have each librarian that we have is a specialist in the study of, we have a organic chemistry librarian, we have an engineering librarian, we have a college of computing librarian, and then they are they work with the professors to do their research, but they also are embedded in the classes. And so what will happen is they come in a couple first weeks of school and they say, welcome to Georgia Tech. I'm from the library. Let me tell you about everything that you can do. And so that's why I produce videos like this, or I will go and talk to those courses, or some of our other librarians will. And then the other thing that we do, if for some reason, they're a transfer and so they don't take those classes, we always are offering, especially in the new building. Right now we're having to do it virtually, but eventually we'll get to the point where we're able to provide kind of that spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down. So we have like a film series this fall where we're showing like, scary movies that are in the public domain. And we are working with student groups to try and have things in the library that aren't necessarily academic to at least pull them into the library. And then once we've got them there, we can say, hey, did you know you can do this, you can do that, all that other stuff. The other thing that we do is if we don't have a librarian embedded in the class, a lot of times the faculty member, they are asked that the projects all be multimodal, which means that it's not just a writing project. You'll probably have to record a podcast, or you might have to make a video, or you might have to, show how your experiment works, things like that. We work with them so that the students come into the library to learn how to use the resources. So we try to embed at multiple levels to ensure that we're catching as many people as we can. And in a normal year, you got to understand, we would probably average close to 4 million, maybe 4.5 million separate visits to the library every year. So there is not a large portion of campus that does not go to the library.
Gotcha. And just a follow up to that, can you talk a little bit about the classes that are offered, just extracurricular that students can take? I know personally, as an employee, I took a data utilization class that focuses on Tableau. So that was great for me, and I think that was available to students also. But if you could just talk more about that too.
Absolutely. So in a normal month, like a September or October, in the thick of the semester, we will offer anywhere from 30 to 40 classes a month, and everything from avoiding plagiarism to using patent search to, like I said, data visualization. So the types of programs you would use like Tableau or RStudio, the multimedia classes. We also have how to search specific databases based on what your major is. And so we really have all sorts of different classes that we teach every month, and we teach them over and over and over again. We teach them multiple times a month, and they're all free. And like I said, we send them out to everybody, but then we also put it all over our social media. So those are popular during the school year, and now that we've moved online, we've been able to kind of get past the physical limitations. So like generally we would have to cap a data visualization class, like introduction to like Python, or using Python with Plotly, or using census data in Tableau. We'd have to stop those at about 30, because we have about 30 seats where people could come in and we could lead the class. But now by having people download all that, and then we use GitHub so that they have all their materials, we're able to have 100 people per class. So actually our numbers have absolutely exploded, and we're serving more people than we ever have before, because they don't have to come in anymore. And then what we have started doing as well is making the classes that we can asynchronous and hosting them on YouTube, because the number one thing that any student will do is go to Google and Google what their problem is, and generally they find a YouTube video of somebody showing them how to, do what it is they need to do. So we're trying to make sure that we're the ones that show them how they need to do what they do, so that they understand the resources that are used and see the right way to be able to do these things. So that is a tremendous asset for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm actually looking for the link now so I can drop it in there for the parents.
Yes, if you just go to library.gotech.edu, It's our calendar. It's on the front page, and it's just library.tech.edu/ I think it's events.
Yeah, I just dropped it in there. Yep.
Yep.
I think that's really awesome. Definitely would, any parents and families definitely would encourage your students to take advantage of these just extracurricular classes to just get some more knowledge about different topics and things of that sort. Seems that we have a compliment rather. Just want to say it looks beautiful. What a great place to study, especially since most students are not going to actual classes. So glad this is open for usage now. I totally agree. Me and Jason were just talking about that. This is probably one of the top library facilities in the entire country. And I'm jealous that I wish I can go back to college and just be in the library myself. It's awesome. Just to clarify, does an individual need to make a reservation to come to the library, even if they are just using open areas?
No. So the library is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The only time we actually close is like if we, when campus closes at a holiday, we might go to a truncated schedule, but during the semester we're open 24/7. Students can come and go anytime. Between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. they have to use their buzz card to get into the building. But in between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., you can come and go as you please, and you do not have to reserve anything. And even some of the rooms you don't really have to reserve; they're instant reserve, so you can just walk up and pop in and use it.
Next question is, would the librarians embedded in the classes also visit online classes as well, those taking asynchronous classes?
Yes, they are. And actually, ironically, not having the physical restraint of having to go to the class and sit there with the class, they've been able to schedule many more than they normally would. But yes, they are absolutely working with the professors on these virtual classes.
Perfecto. Are siblings or parents able to participate in the classes that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, we do not discriminate. Anybody can go. Anybody can, because we use Eventbrite to sign up, just to get your place in the class, and we use Blue Jeans generally to host the classes online. So you are absolutely able to take the class. It's interesting because, once again, ironically, one of the interesting things about Georgia Tech is like parking is kind of tough, right? Especially if you want to come to the library, you'd have to park at the North Avenue lot generally, and then walk down Cherry Street, or you'd have to park, down Bobby Dodd and then walk up. So it's actually a little bit tougher to get to classes if you don't actually go there. But now you can sign up for any class you need, and you can take them as many times as you want. Am I frozen?
I think you're still.
There it is. There it is. Okay. I'm sorry. How
No,
did I miss? Did it cut it off?
no, I think everything was flowing good.
Okay.
Let's see. Is a video you played at the beginning available online somewhere? I was late and I missed it.
Yes. The library has a YouTube channel, and that video is on the Georgia Tech Library's YouTube channel.
Yes, and I can drop the link in a second. Does the library keep a copy of the assigned textbooks that students have access to? Are there electronic copies of those textbooks?
By state law, we cannot do that. That's a question everybody asks. And by state law, we can't have the textbooks. Students have to purchase the textbooks or find other means online.
Can you talk about, I know that COVID may perhaps have some restraints, but if my student is studying in the library, the closest vending machine, or what snack and coffee options do they have?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we actually have vending machines all throughout the building. So in normal circumstances, you can eat in the library all you want. People bring full meals. We do not care. We want everybody to be as comfortable as possible in the library. So like in our graduate student area, actually, we have a kitchen. And we have really comfortable, like big couches and those breakout rooms, so that if you're a grad student and you need to do an all-nighter and you need to spend the night there, you can stay there and you're safe, and you have security, and you have a place where you can get food, and you have a place where you can sleep, and people will keep an eye out for you. Same thing with undergrads. Let me think. So on the second floor, there are multiple vending machines. On the, so it's on 2, and then it's on, I think 6 has one as well. But in the Grove level, we just opened. It said opening fall 2020. Well, they just opened. It's called Blue Donkey Cafe, or Sideways Cafe, and they serve Blue Donkey. Blue Donkey is a coffee place that has existed on campus, and so it is a full service little eatery and coffee. They have fantastic sandwiches and paninis and everything, and it's open generally, like right now I think it's I'd have to check their operating hours, but I think it's like 8 to 9. And then the vending machines are open all the time. In Clough, which is connected to the library, they have vending machines as well, and then they have their own Starbucks location. And during the day, the outside of Clough, they have a number of food trucks that come up. And then, of course, on campus, you've got a couple other restaurants, and the student center is closed right now, but they've been offering. The student center is closed for renovations, but they've been offering, like Chick-fil-A has a tent. And usually during the year, there's a wonderful farmers market that comes, and so everybody's able to go out on Wednesdays and get stuff as well. So there's always a place you can go and get food in the library.
Thanks, Jason, for just touching on that. I know our students love to eat all time. If you can, just talk about safety throughout the library and any tips that you have for the parents to kind of share with their students to kind of keep their belongings safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we do, just that much in the same way that police will leave a little card on your window that says, hide your belongings. We have little cards that says, I'm a friend and I noticed that you left your backpack here. And we just stick the card in their backpack. But in terms of, it is not very often, honestly, that we get somebody says anything about that somebody stole something from the library or from them at the library. When you walk in, we have security at the entrance. The Georgia Tech police are there. They come through, they walk through multiple times a day, especially since we're open 24 hours a day. And at night, there is a shuttle service that operates from both Clough and then the other side of the library at the top of Cherry Street that can take you back safely if you're there late at night. I would certainly argue that the library is probably one of the safest places on campus. I've been here 5 years and we have never had an incident. At Georgia State, a couple years ago, there was some incidents where people were trying to come into the library and were, causing trouble and things like that. And that just doesn't really happen at Georgia Tech. Part of it is that we're right at the heart of campus. So, if the outskirts of campus are, really where stuff might happen, but rarely does anything ever move into campus, especially as far in as we are. So, like I said, it's a very safe environment in the library. And one of the things, our people are all trained, and all the security guards are trained, obviously, to keep an eye out, not only for people coming into the library, but then do we have students that are staying there for multiple nights? Do you have a student that you can tell is in visible distress? Do you notice students that seem, hungry or downtrodden or all those things? And so we actually have, we partner with Clemens Kitchen on campus and things like that to try and be just an opening and welcoming resource for students pretty much at any level of what they need in their college experience.
Cool, that sounds really awesome. Really, really glad the library can support students in that way. We have one more question for you, Jason. Is there a time in the day that you would recommend that a student get a reservation because the library is pretty busy, in particular for those students who stay on West Campus, and just making sure that they find study space?
Yeah, so I mean, earlier is better. Generally what happens is the later in the day it gets, the busier it gets. And so at the library, especially when you start to get into like 3:30, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock into nighttime till about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, that is really when the library is probably rocking and rolling the most in terms of the number of people that are there studying. But if you want to go and find study space, you can get there you would have no problem up until noon. And even then, noon till 3 o'clock or so, especially since we've opened the second building. We are finally done with the renovation, so both buildings are open. Of course, now we have to socially distance, so our seating's about cut in half. But that said, it's not an issue to be able to come to the library and find a quiet spot. One of the nice things, especially about Clough and the library, we have the big reading rooms, but there's all sorts of spaces that are off to the side, or little study nooks or things like that, where people go and they find their little study spot and they find their spot that they love, that's their favorite, and they kind of stake it out. So generally it's not tough to come and find it. And the nice thing about the online booking is that you can see what other people have booked, so you can go in and find yourself a spot. It's like an Outlook calendar, basically.
Gotcha. Are there any before we close, any new programs or any new resources that have just come about this semester that a student would like to know about?
Well, I mean, so when we opened Price Gilbert, it meant that we opened multiple new spaces. So the new spaces that we opened were the Scholars Event Network, which is on the first and second floor, which is essentially where you would go if you need to defend your dissertation. That's where we're going to have authors come and talk. Like if you look at our calendar right now, we have an event tonight, tomorrow night, sorry, it's Thursday, tomorrow night, where it's just a simple, like how to make a zine about your life in quarantine. Next week, we have a faculty member named Dr. Andre Brock Jr. is going to be talking about his book. We would normally have those things in that Scholars Event Network theater. On the third floor, we have what's known as the Media Scholarship Commons. That's where we have all the audio recording, video recording, all the computers that you would need for your multimedia projects. And then on the fourth floor, we actually have a faculty research area for them to be able to come and interact with new technologies and have a nice office space. So all those things are new, and we're rolling it out slowly this semester. First was lending, meaning because we had shut that off when the school went into shutdown for quarantine. Then the breakout rooms just came back online last week. We've opened up some of the computing clusters in the building, general computing cluster on the fourth floor of Crosland Tower and the third floor of Clough. Those are just like if you need a computer to sit down and print something out. We have opened those up, and what we're doing is we're opening them up, making sure we don't see any sudden spikes in people that went to the library with the testing that Georgia Tech is doing. Then if it if we get a month in and things are looking good, then we move on to another service and start working it out. So all that should be coming online relatively soon.
Okay, perfect. Sounds really good. Just have one more question for you. It's kind of a two-part question before we close out. If you can just touch on, I know we talked about renting photography equipment earlier, but if you can talk about what does the process look like for renting a laptop?
Okay.
Just a couple hours, and then also if you can walk parents and families through the printing process and how students pay for that, and then we'll close.
Absolutely. So we have two options for laptops. One, we actually have a laptop like kiosk. Those are for PCs. So Windows-based machines. You walk up. You have your buzz card. You swipe your buzz card. It recognizes you. It releases the computer to you, and then you use the computer for 4 hours. And you return it to the machine, which charges it and then also wipes it. And when you use the machine, you're able to log in using your GTID. So if you have anything in the cloud that's tied to your GTID, it's just a thin client that pulls all your stuff from the cloud. Macs, you do have to request Macs, but it's essentially the same process as using any other gadget or periphery. We have a form online. Obviously, right now you can't do it, but generally, we have a form online. You just go in, you put in your GID so it recognizes who you are, and then you tell them what you need and when you need it by and how long you're going to use it. And they check it out to you just like anything else, a book or whatever else, and then you return it on time. And when that goes live, we will, everything will be sanitized. So those laptops and everything like that, when they get returned, we go through and put them in the UV chamber. So not all normally it's just a big bank of laptops that you just walk up, swipe your buzz card, pull what you want. Right now, though, there are a number of them that might be covered up or say in quarantine. And the second part was about printing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you actually have multiple options. Printing can work several different ways on campus. So what we've had since we opened, and we shut down the printing clusters that were actually tied to a physical computer, but we have no-touch printing clusters. And the way that works is you as a student take your document and you upload it essentially to a cloud file. It's called PS printing services. You upload the document to the cloud file, and then you go to whatever printer you want to go to on campus, and you walk up, swipe your buzz card, it recognizes you, and it pulls your job from the cloud, and you're able to print right there. We have these little touchless kiosks where you can do this, and we have those in a couple places in the library. The second way, especially now that we have reopened the general computing clusters, a couple of them at least, is that you can sit down at that general computing cluster, sign in with your GTID, either go into your email or whatever you want to use, pull the document, and then you can print it. Every student, as part of their student fees, gets a certain amount for printing. They just changed it. It used to be $220 a week, and now I think it's $35 for fall, $32 for spring, and $28 for summer. So you just get a lump sum at the beginning of the semester, and you print until you run out of that. The nice thing about your buzz card is, your buzz card can be used for anything you want to do on campus. So you can add money to it. You can add funds in terms of, for the dining and everything like that. You can use them at vending machines. So what would happen is you just log online to the buzz card office, and you can add money to your buzz card. You can either do it online. They do have kiosks throughout campus where you can just swipe the buzz card and then feed cash into it, and it will put the money on the buzz card. But that's how printing works essentially, is it's through your buzz card, and we have all sorts of handouts and stuff like that about how you actually print in the building that are posted with all the printers.
Great. Perfect. Sounds good. And just for clarification, when you check out a laptop, can you leave the actual library with it and return with it during your allotted time?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for taking the time to talk about the Georgia Tech Library. Such a wonderful facility. Like I said, I feel like Georgia Tech has one of the top library facilities in the entire country. And so our Georgia Tech students are really lucky. Jason, do you have any lasting words that you would like to leave for the parents and families?
Just glad to have your children, studying with us. This is, this is what we do it for. It's a very fulfilling place to be and to work with students and watch them. I've gotten, now that I've been here 5 years, I've gotten to see an actual class go through and start as a freshman with an event we have called Rats Night, where the Saturday before school starts, all the RAs get all the first years and they walk up the hill and they come to the library and we have pizza and all this, fun stuff and video games and all that. And to then actually watch them go all the way through and graduate. And it's such a fulfilling place to be and job and everything. So it's a great place. Glad you're here.
Yes, it definitely is. Parents, thank you so much for joining us today. I just dropped in the Q&A chat box the link to our schedule. And so next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, we'll be joined by people from undergraduate advising, talking about student success, academic advising, and things of that sort. So please tune in for that. You can find the link to that using the link I just posted with our full schedule as well as previous recordings. Yesterday, we were joined by Housing and Residence Life. So if you missed that, click on this link, check it out on YouTube, as well as other webinars focusing on mental health, dining, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to be bringing you more and more throughout the semester. Just thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week, and go Jackets.